Hey everybody, let's talk crypto question. So I've done a couple of these question answer rounds before. I love these videos, by the way, personally. But I got a question from Zibby. Shout out. Thank you for questions you've had in the past as well. And this one is, I took it as a very loaded question, so I will try my best to keep this short. But if you guys have been with me for a little while, you know that's more of a warning than anything else. And if you're new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this, you'd find it useful enough to subscribe, like, ring the little ding thing, and let me know anything that you think about below. So the question I got, I'll paraphrase it a little bit, but was, do I believe, or in my opinion, do I think that the crypto cycles are going to slowly phase out? More specifically, what about RWAs once we get a lot of real world traction, like Quant, for example? So anytime someone brings Quant up, I get excited. But to answer the question in short, and then to go a little bit further into it, yeah, I think we're going to phase out a little bit, but also not really. There's always going to be cycles. And I can very confidently say that because stock markets have cycles. Real estate has cycles. Banking liquidity has cycles. But I also don't think that's what the question meant. Maybe it is. If so, there's your answer. But I think the cycles are going to slowly change over time. Phase out, no. So let's start with Bitcoin because everything in crypto starts with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has the most liquidity by far. I think it was around 1.9 trillion when I looked a couple of days ago, where of all of crypto had about 2.6 trillion. Don't hold me directly to those numbers. But Bitcoin is still relatively volatile, right? When you compare it to a lot of other assets outside of crypto, Bitcoin is still quite volatile and it's still a pretty large asset. But when you compare it to stocks, the top 5 stocks all have almost as much or more liquidity in it than Bitcoin does. Or all of crypto, I apologize, all of crypto. It's like Microsoft had around the $3 trillion, for example, and they still move a little bit. But my point where I'm going to lead with this is with Bitcoin, everything follows Bitcoin when it comes to cycles, right? For altcoin season, we need Bitcoin to get a shit ton of interest because one, that's what brings in a lot more of us retail, which brings in more liquidity. And then as Bitcoin goes up, people who got in early sells it off, puts it into Ethereum, Solana, XRP. Those prices go up. People who got in those early sell those off, puts into smaller gems that has better chances of more multiples. And that's how we get the fiasco known as the bull run, where things go up and down like effing crazy. But we have Bitcoin ETFs, which have brought in over $40 billion so far, and it hasn't even been in a year yet. We're having different countries starting Bitcoin reserves. They're filing for it, and I'm very confident a lot are going to end up doing it. Here in the U.S., we've got multiple states, I think 16, or at least it was 16 last I looked, have filed to do Bitcoin reserves. And I do think most of them are going to get it before too long. So what this is going to do is going to bring a lot more steady income or liquidity into Bitcoin, which is going to make it less volatile, and it's not going to dip as much in the bear market. At least that's what I believe. Typically, Bitcoin has dropped about 72% every bear market from its all-time high. I think it's going to happen less this time. I also think there's going to be a bear market, but I think it's going to drop maybe 40 to 60% arbitrarily as opposed to the average of closer to that 72. With talking about RWAs or just the other altcoins, they're also getting ETFs, right? HBAR has been filed for an ETF. I mean, NASDAQ even helped try to push that through to get Canary's HBAR ETF through the SEC into NASDAQ. We've got XRP, we've got Litecoin, we got Doge. There's rumors about Algorand, Solana's coming up. I don't think it's going to be the same. What I just said about Bitcoin and having all that constant liquidity coming in from ETFs on top of all the Bitcoin reserves of different federal states, there's not going to be as much liquidity coming into these altcoins. It's not going to be, we're not going to have Hedera or XRP as large in 4 years from now as Bitcoin is now. I just don't at all foresee that as a possibility. And even if we did, again, Bitcoin's still volatile. So we're still going to have those motions and liquidity until industrial ends up taking over those for probably 80% or more, and only about 20% or less is us retail, because we're the ones that are emotional, that buy and sell and make everything go up and down. We just follow what the whales do. So with that being said, we're still going to have the cycles, I think, but they could be different. Next bull run, there might not be too much of Bitcoin. We might not follow Bitcoin the same way. By we, I mean all the altcoins. It's possible that it won't. But I think then all the altcoins are then going to follow the next in kin, so to speak. Maybe it'll be Ethereum, maybe it'll be XRP, maybe it'll be Solana. Maybe those three will kind of move up and down in tandem a little bit, and the rest of altcoins will follow them instead. I think that is far more likely than us not having a bull run, bear run, continuing down the road. And then, unless there ends up being regulations, which the whole point of crypto was, decentralized. And I mean regulations, I mean strict regulations of what can or can't be put out as crypto. There's always going to be meme coins. So at the very least, people are always going to be degenerates finding the gambling scene with meme coins and low market cap coins. And if for nothing else, the concept of self-fulfilling prophecy, I think, is going to play. What I mean by this is if enough people believe something is going to happen and they're acting as if it's going to happen, it is going to happen. So if we have enough people in retail and industry that think that there's going to be a bear market, we're all going to sell our crypto this year, which will force a bear market. Price action long-term comes from profits of a company. Short-term, it's all from popularity and who's buying it and who's selling it. So as long as enough people think there's going to be a bear market and they sell, there's going to be a bear market. If enough people then think there's going to be a bull market, so they start buying and we start talking about it, gets to media and they say, hey guys, get this before it gets too high, that's going to make a bull run. So I do think it's going to continue happening, even if it's just out of human nature and force to make it happen. They could be less volatile, but I don't think overall it will be. Maybe next bull run's not the exact same as this one, or maybe this bull run's not the exact same as the last few. I think it will be, but I could be wrong. We're still going to have things pop up. Maybe it's going to be only the smaller market caps that are under $1 billion are going to go, because those are going to be the ones that are going to be influenced by retail putting money in. If 2 or 3 cycles down the road, the top 50 crypto all have over $1 trillion market caps, we're not going to make as much of a dent. But there's still going to be a lot of these 1 billion or less, 500 million, 100 million, and below that we're going to target. So maybe it's only going to be partial bull runs. We might also only have, there's a theory or concept of maybe just narrative bull runs. And that one could happen this cycle. Again, I don't think so, but I'm also kind of keeping an eye on it. What I mean is maybe we're just going to have a bunch of mini bull runs in random sequences until we've had enough time go by, we look at charts and we can patternize them. Like maybe we're going to have just a RWA bull run for 3 to 6 weeks, and everything in that narrative just goes effing nuts, up and down, up 300%, down 50%, up 150, and then maybe there'll be a month cool off period and everything trickles around, and then we get an AI huge bull run for 3 to 6 weeks. And we could just have cycles like that. That's very possible. But what it comes down to it is until crypto has a larger market cap, really I'm just kind of pulling at straws when I'm giving you a number on this one, saying it's in like the 20 trillions plus. People are going to play with it. It's going to be manipulatable. Even in the stock market, it is manipulated. And that is far larger numbers than now. So maybe just the powers that be can always force the bull run and the bear market. So phase out, I don't think so. Could it change slightly or narrow its focus? Yeah, I could definitely see that occurring. So add a little bit more to that second part of the question about what about RWAs, real world assets, when everything gets kind of really functioning in the real world. Like quant. If you're not familiar with quant, shame on you. Do your own research. Quant's awesome. It's probably the biggest shilling you're going to get from me for the most part. But to keep it simple, Quant is one of the main ones with XRP that's kind of expected and already in trials to run digital dollars, CBDCs, federal currencies, banking currencies, etc. And when that passes, because I personally believe that's going to be a when, not an if, it's going to put a lot of money, a lot of liquidity in the market in those coins for sure. But again, price action moves when money is made in the long term. Quant's a great example of this actually, because retail doesn't give a rat's ass about Quant, and Quant doesn't give a rat's ass about retail. That's why they don't advertise or talk about it, because they're they're focused far more on making their company big, which I love that. It's why it's my long-term play. I've said this before, Quant is kind of like my Bitcoin. I understand it's not Bitcoin, but I'm using Quant as my long-term, a little bit more of a gamble than Bitcoin, but in my eye, it's a great long-term bet. And it's because of everything that I fully suspect they're going to be involved in the next 5 to 10 years. So when we have more RWAs, Ondo is another strong possibility. You can tie that back into XRP, how they've partnered up on Ripple. But when we have trillions of dollars, more so at least billions of dollars that's coming inflows, outflows, it could help stabilize a lot of things, and they might not be part of the bull run bear market that I kind of alluded to a couple of moments ago. They might be more stable. And if that's the case, okay, then those will be much more of long-term assets. But we're still going to have things like layer 2s come into play. As Overledger gets larger, as scalable as it is, it's not against the possibility that there's going to be cryptos out that can add to an Overledger for different, we'll call it bridges, of interoperability to help make it go faster or hold more. And if that's the case, those are going to be crypto. Those are going to be something that starts as a lower market cap. So again, maybe I greatly blew this question way out of proportion, but it kind of got me excited. One, I think it's a fun question because it's all theory. There's really nothing I can sit on and say, I think it because of this. And also, a lot of people just have stayed away from this question because ultimately it doesn't matter right now unless you are looking at trying to bet your hedges on getting into a crypto now before it goes up really high long term and stays stabilized and might not be able to get into it. For example, Bitcoin right now, most people can't afford a Bitcoin. Right? As I think it's in the US, the average investor has about $1,000 every 3 months to put in. And I could be way off on what that number was. I knew it was $1,000 on average for some period of time. But the point being, it's going to take you a long ass time at $1,000 a month or whatnot to get a Bitcoin. It's just out of budget for most people. So something like Quant, I could see it getting out of budget down the road for most people. No, I don't think it's going to be, an $89,000 coin. Next 10 years, could it be getting closer to that 5 to 10? Yeah, I think it could. Not this round, guys. Sorry, I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass. I'll be thrilled if it hits $1,000 this round. Going to take a little bit more than that for me to sell it. But if you want to get into an asset now that in the future could be worth a lot at 20 to 30x what it is now, Quant's a good option for that. Ondo, I don't think is ever going to be that high just due to there's 1.5 billion coins compared to Quant's 21 total, or no, Quant 16 million. I'm mixing up my crypto. I apologize. But they've got a much larger supply than Quant or Bitcoin at about 21 million and 16 million respectively. Inverse respectively. So it's never going to get that high, but it is going to stabilize as the market caps go up. So at this point, I feel like I'm talking in circles, and we'll see what I actually thought of everything that I said. So don't be surprised if there ends up being a follow-up to this one, because I'm doing this one mostly off the top of my head, so I might have more additions or arguments to myself down the road. But on that note, feel free, put your arguments or thoughts down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, and If you add something really good on my opinion or against it, I'll go ahead and I'll add that into something, another future one like this. So, yeah, bull run, bear market. Do I think this is the last one? No. I think we've got one more similar to everything else, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin has a different role to play next time. And maybe then some of the RWAs are just going to start following more of the banking cycles a decade down the road. I'm not sure, but I'll be here to find out with you guys. Catch you all soon. Peace.